Before you leave, I want to ask you something. History shows us that every major war started with small tensions that most people ignored at first. Today, the world is once again changing, alliances are shifting, conflicts are rising, and new powers are emerging. So here's the question. Do you think the world could face another major global war in the future? Or has humanity finally learned from its past? Write your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if you enjoy deep historical stories like this, real events, real conflicts, and the hidden reasons behind them, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because in the next video, we're going to explore one of the most dangerous moments in modern history, the crisis that almost pushed the world into nuclear war. Until then, stay curious. History is still being written. War did not begin with tanks, missiles, or modern armies. It began much earlier, when humans first formed tribes, built land, and started calling places their own. Historians believe the earliest organized wars happened thousands of years ago in ancient civilizations like Mesopotamia. One of the earliest recorded wars was fought between the cities of Sumer nearly 5,000 years ago. Two rival city-states fought over land, water, and power. The weapons were simple: spears, shields, and early bronze blades. But the reason behind the conflict feels strangely familiar even today. Control, fear, survival. As human civilization grew, wars became larger. Empires rose, armies expanded, and battle strategies evolved. Leaders realized something important. War was not only about fighting, it was about influence. Ancient empires like Rome, Persia, and China built massive armies and changed the scale of warfare forever. Entire regions were conquered, cultures were reshaped, and borders moved again and again. But for thousands of years, wars were mostly regional. Powerful, yes, but limited to parts of the world. That would change in the 20th century, because for the first time in human history, the entire planet would be pulled into conflict. The world was about to witness something unprecedented, the first true global war. In 1914, tensions in Europe exploded into what we now know as World War I. What started as a political crisis quickly became a massive chain reaction. Alliances dragged country after country into battle. Suddenly, millions of soldiers were fighting across continents. Trenches stretched for miles across Europe. New technology changed warfare forever: machine guns, poison gas, artillery, and early tanks. For soldiers, survival often meant living in mud, fear, and constant danger. The war lasted for brutal years. When it finally ended in 1918, the world had changed. Empires collapsed. Borders shifted. Millions had died. Many people believed humanity had learned its lesson. They called it the war to end all wars. But history had a different plan, because only 20 years later, the world would face an even bigger and more devastating conflict. In 1939, a second global war began, and this time, the scale was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. This conflict became known as World War II, the largest war in human history. Entire nations mobilized. Factories turned into weapon production lines. Cities became targets. Airplanes bombed from the sky. Naval battles controlled oceans, and new superpowers emerged during this period, especially the United States, which played a decisive role in the outcome of the war. World War II reshaped the modern world. It changed politics, technology, military strategy, and global alliances. But something else happened after the war ended. Instead of direct world wars, conflicts started becoming more complex. Indirect wars, regional wars, Cold Wars. Nations began competing through influence, alliances, and proxy conflicts. This is where modern geopolitical tensions began forming, including the complicated relationship between Iran and the United States. But to understand why tensions exist today, we have to go back in time again. Because history doesn't just explain wars, it explains why they keep happening. And the story of modern conflicts, including the rising tension between major powers, is deeply connected to decisions made decades ago. In the next part of this story, we'll explore how the world moved from global wars to modern power struggles, and how conflicts like the US and Iran tension became one of the most watched geopolitical rivalries today. Because history shows us something important. Wars don't start suddenly. They build slowly, over time. History rarely moves in straight lines. After the devastation of the Second World War, many people hoped humanity had finally reached a turning point, that global war on such a scale would never happen again. But power never disappears. It only shifts. After World War II, the global balance changed dramatically. Old empires faded, and two superpowers emerged stronger than anyone else: the United States and the Soviet Union. This was the beginning of a new kind of conflict. Not always fought with bullets, but power never disappears. It only shifts. After World War II, the global balance changed dramatically. Old empires faded, and two superpowers emerged stronger than anyone else: the United States and the Soviet Union. This was the beginning of a new kind of conflict. Not always fought with bullets, but with influence, intelligence operations, alliances, and political control. This period became known as the Cold War. For nearly half a century, the world lived under the shadow of potential nuclear war. Instead of one massive global battlefield, wars appeared in different regions: Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan. In the mid-20th century, Iran was closely aligned with the United States. At the time, Iran was ruled by a monarch known as Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. The country was strategically important because of its location and, most importantly, its oil. Oil was, and still is, one of the most powerful resources in global politics. But inside Iran, many people were unhappy. They believed foreign influence was growing too strong and that their country was losing control over its own future. This tension eventually exploded into one of the most important events in modern Middle Eastern history: the Iranian Revolution. In 1979, protests grew across the country. The monarchy collapsed, and a new political system emerged under the leadership of Ruhollah Khomeini. This moment changed everything. Almost overnight, the relationship between Iran and the United States shifted from alliance to hostility. Soon after the revolution, a major crisis shocked the world. The U.S. Embassy in Tehran was taken over, and American diplomats were held hostage for more than a year. The event deeply impacted American public opinion and permanently damaged relations between the two countries. From that point forward, tensions continued building. Over the decades, both countries accused each other of threats, influence, and destabilization in the region. Sanctions were introduced. Military forces increased their presence, and political rhetoric grew stronger. But history shows something important. Conflicts between nations are rarely about only one event. They are built from layers of decisions: strategic interests, regional alliances, military power, economic pressure. All of these factors slowly pushed the relationship between the United States and Iran into one of the most watched geopolitical rivalries in the modern world. Then came the nuclear question. In the early 2000s, concerns began rising about Iran's nuclear program. Some leaders believed Iran was developing nuclear weapons, while Iran stated. All of these factors slowly pushed the relationship between the United States and Iran into one of the most watched geopolitical rivalries in the modern world. Then came the nuclear question. In the early 2000s, concerns began rising about Iran's nuclear program. Some leaders believed Iran was developing nuclear weapons, while Iran stated its program was for energy and scientific development. This disagreement led to years of negotiations, pressure, and international diplomacy. Eventually, in 2015, a major agreement was reached between Iran and several world powers, including the United States. This deal became known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that its program was for energy and scientific development. This disagreement led to years of negotiations, pressure, and international diplomacy. Eventually, in 2015, a major agreement was reached between Iran and several world powers, including the United States. This deal became known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. For a moment, it seemed like tensions might finally ease. But geopolitics is rarely stable for long. In 2018, the United States withdrew from the agreement and reintroduced sanctions. From that point onward, tensions began rising again, slowly but noticeably. Military activity increased in the region. Naval patrols expanded. Missiles, drones, and cyber operations became part of modern warfare strategies. Unlike the massive wars of the 20th century, modern conflicts often operate in a gray zone, somewhere between peace and open war. And this is where the story becomes even more intense. Because today, the world is entering a new era of global tension. Not exactly a world war, but something historians are watching very closely. Major powers competing again, regional conflicts growing, technology transforming warfare faster than ever before, artificial intelligence in defense systems, drone warfare changing battlefields, cyber attacks targeting entire infrastructures. War is evolving,